Okay, I want you to picture a specific image for me. It's a Sunday morning. You walk into a church sanctuary, high ceilings, stained glass, the whole solemn vibe, expecting pews, maybe a choir warming up.
Sure.
But instead, there is a volleyball net strung tightly across the center of the room.
Oh.
And there are kids diving on the floor, sneakers squeaking, spiking a ball right where the sermon usually happens.
That creates a bit of a mental disconnect, doesn't it?
It does.
We have these really rigid mental categories. This is a sacred space, that is a gym. They don't mix.
Exactly. It feels, wrong, or at least like you're breaking some unwritten rule.
Yeah.
That image, which is a real photo, by the way, is the launch pad for today's deep dive.
Okay.
We are unpacking a talk that was delivered just recently, January 25, 2026, at Beipu Church. And while the setting is a church getting ready for its annual elections, don't let that fool you.
No, not at all.
This is one of the most interesting breakdowns of organizational psychology and team dynamics I've come across in a long time.
I completely agree. If you just strip away the religion context for a second, what we're really looking at is a masterclass on the psychology of commitment. It asks a question that every CEO, every team lead, and I mean, frankly, every family member needs to answer. Are you a consumer of the community, or are you a stakeholder in its survival?
And the speaker frames this whole debate around two Chinese idioms that sound kind of polite on the surface, but are actually
mortal enemies.
Exactly. Gongshang Shengyu versus Tongzhu Gongji.
Right. And to give you the Cliff's Notes version before we get into the weeds, Gongshang Shengju is like showing up to a gala.
Okay.
You're there for the champagne, the networking, the good vibes. Tongzhu Gongji is two people stuck in a lifeboat in the middle of a hurricane.
One is participating in a grand event, and the other is crossing the river in the same boat.
And the difference between those two mindsets, that's usually the difference between an organization that thrives and one that, collapses when things get hard.
So let's go back to that volleyball net. The speaker starts by showing this photo from over 10 years ago. It was taken by a kid named Chen Hao, and it shows young people playing sports right inside the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Now, my gut reaction, and I think a lot of people's reaction, is, you can't do that. That's disrespectful.
And that's what the speaker calls the museum mindset.
The museum mindset.
Yeah, you look at the environment and all you see are constraints. You see do not touch signs everywhere. But the speaker uses this to introduce the possibility mindset.
Which is what exactly?
It's the ability to look at a space or a budget or a team and see what could happen, not just what usually happens.
Right.
Those kids didn't see a sanctuary. They saw a room with high ceilings and no wind. I mean, perfect for volleyball. The speaker's point is that your level of ownership determines your perspective.
Guests don't rearrange the furniture.
Owners do. It's a great distinction, right? If I'm an Airbnb guest, I'm not painting the walls. If I own the house, I might knock a wall down.
Exactly. And this sets up the central tension of the whole talk. The speaker takes us through 4 ancient narrative stories that, if you grew up religious, you probably know by heart. But he flips them to diagnose this consumer versus owner mentality in a way that's always, it's actually kind of jarring.
It is. He really focuses on the details that usually get skipped over.
Yeah, let's start with the first one, the ark.
The ultimate survival story.
Right. Noah, the flood, the animals. Usually the focus is all on Noah. He's the hero, the guy who built the boat. But this talk barely even mentions him.
No, it zooms in on a very specific and I think often overlooked demographic.
Which is?
Noah's 3 daughters-in-law.
Which is such a weird choice for a leadership talk. Why them?
Because it's an argument about identity and alignment. Think about it. Noah was the one with the direct line to God, right? He had the pedigree. But his sons went out and married women from the general population.
Yeah, and the source material is pretty clear about the general population at that time. It describes the generation as corrupt and filled with violence.
Right. So, statistically speaking, these 3 women likely came from backgrounds that were morally bankrupt. They weren't born into the Holy Family.
So they didn't have the Ivy League degree, to use your metaphor.
Exactly. They were external hires from a failing competitor. They were outsiders.
So the question is, why did they get to survive? Was it just, nepotism?
The speaker argues it wasn't about their origin. It was about their alignment. They physically got on the ark.
Okay.
And this is a massive point for organizational culture. We often obsess over culture fit based on someone's past, where they worked, who they know. The speaker suggests that true identity in a group isn't about your past perfection, it's about your current commitment to the vessel.
So you don't have to be born an insider to be part of the crew.
You just have to get on the boat.
And stay on the boat.
And stay on the boat. Remember, for a long time, these women didn't have children. They weren't contributing to the legacy yet. They just worked. They helped build. Their survival was based on one thing. When the doors closed, they were on the inside. They aligned their fate with the fate of the ship.
Okay, so step one is getting on the boat. That's identity, but just having bodies on the boat isn't enough.
Right.
You need the right kind of people.
Right.
And this leads us to the second case study, which honestly sounds like a CEO's nightmare. The story of Gideon.
This is the quality over quantity case study. And yes, if you ran a company this way, your shareholders would probably sue you.
Let's just break down the math. Gideon is a military leader. He starts with 32,000 soldiers.
Yep.
They're facing the Midianites. The text suggests a massive army, maybe 135,000, maybe even 200,000. So Gideon's already outnumbered, what, 6-1?
The odds are terrible, and then the command comes down from God. You have too many people.
I mean, if I'm Gideon, I'm thinking, excuse me, have you seen the other guys?
Exactly. But look at how the downsizing happens. It's not a random layoff. Gideon says to the 32,000 troops, anyone who is afraid or trembling, you can go home.
And 22,000 people leave.
Instantly.
Wow.
That number always gets me. 22,000, that's more than 2/3 of his entire workforce.
But hold on, if 66% of your team walks out the second you give them an option, that says something pretty terrifying about your organization, doesn't it?
It says you are operating with an illusion of strength. Those 22,000 people were physically present, they were on the payroll, so to speak, but mentally. They were already gone. They were there out of obligation or social pressure. They were drag. They weren't adding power. They were just consuming resources.
So Gideon actually did himself a favor. He filtered out the people who were already looking for an exit strategy.
Correct. But now he has 10,000 left, still outnumbered 20-1, and the message comes again. Still too many.
This is where we get the water test. And this feels like some weird behavioral interview question.
It totally is. Gideon takes the remaining 10,000 troops to a river to drink. They've been marching, they're thirsty, they're exhausted.
And the source describes the mechanics here. 9,700 of them just drop to their knees and bury their faces in the water.
Think about that posture. You're on your knees, your face is submerged, you are completely vulnerable. You can't see the enemy, you can't see your commander. You have completely prioritized your immediate personal needs over the mission.
You've clocked out.
You've mentally clocked out. But 300 of them do something different. They scoop the water up to their mouths with their hands.
It says they lapped like dogs, which sounds messy, but the point is the posture.
It's all about the posture. By bringing the water to their mouths, their eyes stay up. They're still vertical. Even while satisfying a basic need, they remained alert to the threat. They never disconnected from the reality of the war.
So Gideon keeps the 300 alert guys and sends the 9,700 kneelers home. Now, the speaker asks a question here that made me laugh. He asks, would you feel like an idiot?
It's a valid question.
It is.
Imagine you pass the test. You're feeling elite. Then you look around and realize, wait, there are only 300 of us left to fight an army of 200,000.
I'd be thinking, man, I should have just knelt down. I could be walking home with the other 9,000 guys right now.
And that's the sucker punch of high commitment. Being the chosen few usually means you have to do way more work. But the lesson the speaker drives home is that true commitment looks like obedience and alertness, even when the math says you're crazy.
The organization doesn't need warm bodies.
It needs the right 300 who aren't looking for the exit and aren't burying their heads in the water.
Okay, but here's where I have to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
We've established that the majority is often wrong or disengaged. But in most modern organizations, we value democracy. We value consensus. If 10 out of 12 board members say, don't do it, you usually don't do it.
And that brings us perfectly to the third case study, the 12 spies. This is where the speaker challenges the very idea of majority rule in leadership.
Okay, set the scene for us.
The Israelites are on the edge of the Promised Land. They send 12 executives, these are tribal leaders, not interns, to scout the territory. They come back with a unified report on the facts.
The facts were, the land is amazing. The source talks about grapes so big 2 people had to carry them on a pole.
Right, but also,
the people are giants and the cities are fortified.
So fact A, great rewards. Fact B, high risks. Everyone based it on the data.
But the interpretation was split.
10 of the leaders said, "We look like grasshoppers to them. We can't do it. It's a suicide mission."
And 2 leaders, Joshua and Caleb, said, "Let's go, we can take them."
10 against 2. Now, in a democracy, the no's have it right. You don't ignore an 83% majority vote from your executive team.
And they didn't. The people listened to the majority. And the consequence, as the speaker points out, was a total catastrophe.
40 years of wandering in the wilderness.
All because they followed the fearful majority.
The speaker's making a really nuanced point here. He's not saying leaders should be dictators who ignore advice. He's distinguishing between consumer feedback and stakeholder vision. The 10 spies were looking at the situation like consumers.
The cost is too high. The risk is too uncomfortable. I'm out.
Exactly. Whereas Joshua and Caleb were looking at it through the lens of the mission. They saw the same giants, but they also saw the promise. A leader's role is to weigh the source of the vote. Is this vote coming from fear and a desire for comfort?
Or is it coming from a commitment to the destination?
Right. If you're crossing the river in the same boat, you don't vote based on what's easy. You vote based on where the boat needs to go, even if the rowing is going to be brutal.
Speaking of brutal, let's talk about the final case study. This one deals with the guy who doesn't vote no, but he doesn't do anything.
The parable of the talents. This one hits hard because it attacks passivity.
Right, quick recap. A master gives money to 3 servants to invest. 5,000 coins, 2,000, and 1,000.
And the first 2 double their money. The third guy, the one with the 1,000 coins, digs a hole and buries it.
Now, usually we hear this story and think, well, at least he didn't lose it. He was conservative, he was risk-averse. In a lot of companies, that guy gets a steady paycheck for 20 years.
But the speaker connects this servant to a very specific, very heavy figure, Judas Iscariot.
Yeah, that stopped me in my tracks. Judas, the betrayer.
The source mentions earlier that Judas gave up his position, and the speaker argues that this lazy servant did the exact same thing. It's the concept of opportunity cost as betrayal. Think about it. The servant with the 1,000 coins was in the same environment as the successful ones. He had the same resources. He occupied a spot on the team.
But he chose to wait it out. He occupied the space of a producer but acted like a vault.
The speaker calls him wicked and lazy because in a mission-driven group, passivity is a form of betrayal. You're blocking a slot that could go to someone who actually wants to do the work. The speaker is basically saying there is no neutral ground. You're either investing and risking, or you're burying.
And if you're burying, you're actually hurting the team.
Exactly.
So we've covered identity, get on the boat, quality, stay alert, leadership vision over fear, and investment, don't bury your talent. This brings us to the synthesis of the whole talk.
Yeah, he circles back to those 2 idioms from the start.
Gonggang Shengju versus Tongzu Gongji.
Participating in a grand event versus crossing the river in the same boat.
And the speaker is ruthless about the grand event mindset. He compares it to joining a social club, like the Rotary or Lions Club.
And he's careful to clarify he's not bashing those clubs. He's bashing the transactional nature of that mindset when you apply it to a mission.
Right. In a grand event mindset, I am the subject. It's about my experience. I pay my dues. I show up for the gala. I eat the rubber chicken.
And if the fees get too high, or you don't like the music, or the air conditioning breaks,
you leave. Or you complain to management. Because you're a customer. You've purchased an experience, and if the delivery is flawed, you are entitled to a refund.
Right, versus Tongzu Gongji, same boat.
This one's different.
The origin of this idiom is so cool. It implies 2 enemy nations stuck on one boat in a storm. It doesn't matter if they hate each other. If they don't help each other row and bail water, everyone sinks.
Their survival is interlocked.
Exactly, and this is where the speaker drops the most vivid sensory image of the entire talk. He takes us back to Noah's Ark, but he strips away the cute nursery rhyme version.
I love this part. We tend to romanticize the Ark.
Yeah.
You know, cute animals, rainbows, nice polished wood.
The speaker reminds us, it was a floating barn with no ventilation. It was full of elephants, hippos, and rabbits.
And elephants and hippos produce
a significant amount of waste. The speaker explicitly says it smelled of manure. Imagine that. You're locked in a dark, damp, pitching wooden box for a year. It's loud, it's cramped, it stinks.
You are stuck with people and animals that probably annoy you.
Right. If you have the grand event mindset, you're standing there holding your nose saying, "This is unacceptable. The sanitation is below standard. I'm canceling my subscription."
But the same boat mindset.
It realizes the ultimate trade-off. Yes, inside the Ark, it smells like manure, it's uncomfortable, it's messy. But outside the Ark,
outside is the flood. outside is death.
And that is the punchline. The speaker's verdict is blunt. The church, or your startup, or your community group, it does not need people who want to participate in a grand event. They don't need patrons who donate a little money out of pity or check in when it's convenient.
Take a crew.
They need people who realize survival depends on staying on the boat despite the smell. He connects it to being a steward. When you're a guest, you complain about dirty dishes. When you're family,
You wash them.
you wash them.
Man, that is a brutal but necessary distinction. It really forces you to look at your own memberships, doesn't it? It's easy to be a consumer.
So easy.
It's easy to critique the sermon, or the quarterly strategy, or the way the office coffee tastes.
It's safe to be a critic. It's so much harder to grab a shovel and start cleaning up the mess because you know that if this boat sinks, you go down with it.
So we've gone from playing volleyball in a sanctuary to smelling manure on the ark. What a journey.
And it all comes down to that one word: commitment. Are you here for the show, or are you here for the survival of the group?
The speaker ends with a prayer about being a good steward. But that challenge just hangs in the air. It's not exactly a comfortable message to end on.
It wasn't meant to be. Growth rarely happens in the comfort zone.
So here's where we'll leave you today. I want you to think about the groups you belong to, your workplace, your volunteer group, even your family. When that water test comes, are you kneeling down to drink focused only on your own comfort?
Or are you lapping water from your hand with your eyes still scanning the horizon?
And maybe the most important question of all, are you the person complaining about the smell inside the boat, completely forgetting about the flood that's raging outside?
Stay alert.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you in the next one.